Hello, it's Reese with a spoon, and today I'm going to show you how to make a chuck roast comes out tender. A lot of people say that they struggle with making their chuck roast tender, whether they bake their chuck roast or whether they boil their chuck roast or whether they grill it. Whatever style you decide to go with your chuck roast, a lot of people want it to be tender, and I'm going to show you a couple of techniques that you can put into place to make sure that your chuck roast comes out tender. Let's go. So first, let me tell you what you're going to need. You are going to need a strainer and a pot, big stock pot, so that you can boil first your chuck roast. You want to boil your chuck roast. That is one strategy that you need to put in place first to get your chuck roast tender. So you need a top that goes as you are boiling your chuck roast. You want to always put a lid on your chuck roast. That is also the second strategy to making sure that your chuck roast comes out tender. Okay. Big oven baker pot like this, okay? And what I typically do is I line it with foil, okay? So lining it with foil, you're going to see the purpose in a few minutes for this. There is going to be a mushroom soup that I'm going to put on top of my chuck roast to make it tender and give it some good taste. So you are going to need an onion, okay, and that's just to throw on top of it to give it some taste. Okay, you need some seasoned salt, that's our trusty dusty. You need pepper, another trusty dusty. You need cream of mushroom soup. This is the soup that's going to go on top of your when you get ready to transfer your chuck roast to the oven. This is going to go on top. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to cut up our onion, okay? And we're going to prepare and put this aside because we're going to put onion on top of our chuck roast to give it some extra great taste. So I had a little extra onion from my last cooking project, so I just kind of want to use it up. Okay, so cut up your onion. Cut up your onion nice and small. We're going to get it down to a nice, at least chopped size. It doesn't have to be too small. Just chop it down. Get it down some. You have your onions all cut up. You're going to put those aside. Just put those aside in a small dish. And we're going to come back to them later. Okay, next we need to go ahead and get our chuck roast prepared. What we need to do is go ahead and put this in our strainer, and we are going to wash it off, get it nice and prepared and ready to go. Now that we have our beautiful chuck roast all washed off and cleaned, we're going to go ahead and put it in our stock pot, okay? And we're going to run a nice size amount of water on top, and we are going to boil it for at least an hour. So we have a nice size amount of water prepared to go on the stove. We're going to let this get nice and boily and nice and hot. And we're going to put our chuck roast inside of this water, and we're going to let it boil. So first, you are going to apply your pepper. And you just pepper down both sides. Next, you are going to apply your seasoned salt. And yes, I'm putting quite a bit on it. Why? It's because when you boil this, it's going to boil right. It's going to boil. Some of it is going to boil inside of it to give it its taste, and then some of it is going to boil off of it. Okay? And now you can see that our water is nice and hot. It is boiling quite high. So what we'll do is, now that we got the water nice and hot, we're going to turn it down to, put it down on medium. We're going to take our nice beautiful chuck roast and we're going to stick it in our pot, just like that. Okay, now you're going to let this boil for an hour. Okay, that's part of the technique. That's part of making sure that your chuck roast comes out tender. And yes, for those of you who are saying, well, I like to bake my chuck roast. I don't want boiled chuck roast. I want to bake my chuck roast. Well, what you need to understand is that a part of having a tender baked chuck roast is making sure you boil it first. Okay, so boiling it should be part of your technique. And now that we've got the steam and boiling simmered down some, we took the temperature down, we're going to go ahead and put a top on our chuck roast. So we're going to set our timer for an hour. It has been an hour, and we're going to now remove the chuck roast from the pot. We're going to take it and put it in our baking pan. We're going to put it in the oven. Alright, now that we have that out of the boiling pan, we now need to season it with our cream of mushroom soup and our onions. We are going to put our onions on top, and we can, if we want to, add a little bit of seasoning, a little extra seasoning if we want to. Kind of just spruce it up a little bit. Add our onions on in there. We are now going to add our cream of mushroom soup in there, in a nice bowl. Okay, we want to make sure we put it in a nice bowl. Get all of it out because you want it all for taste. Every inch makes everything taste good. Okay. Then we are going to add water. Fill the water up to the top of the can. We're going to add water into the soup. Okay. We're going to stir that around a little bit in there. Going to do, oh, here's my whisk. I got my whisk right here. Much better. I can tell the difference that makes. Yes, much better. Alright, so we're going to take that and pour that right over our meat. Just like that. So we're going to go ahead and seal it up just like this. Alright, once we get everything all sealed up like that, we are going to go ahead and put this meat in the oven for at least 1 hour. Alright, our lovely chuck roast is finished. It has been an hour and it has baked for an hour. Let's take a look at it. There we have it. A wonderful, tender chuck roast that is filled with onions and cream of mushroom soup. Alright. Let's see how tender it has come to be. Ooh, look at that. Comes together really good. Look at that. Ooh. See that? Comes out tender. Just use those tips. Make sure you boil it first. Make sure you boil it for an hour first. And then make sure you marinate it in some cream of mushroom or cream of celery, anything of your choice. Let's give it a good try here. Delicious. All right, we're finished. Be sure to like, subscribe, keep up with me. I have tons of other recipes, delicious family secrets coming your way. Bye bye.